Continuing on the section for provide services, let's talk about offer services. Quotas define the limits of resources that a user subscription can provision or consume. For example, a quota might allow a user to create up to 5 virtual machines or VMs. Each resource can have its own types of quotas. To edit quotas, go to the default dashboard of the administrator portal and find the resource providers tile. Select the service with the quota that you want to view, like compute, network, or storage. Then select quotas and then select the quota you want to view. There are 2 different ways to edit a quota, either from the plans option or from the specific resource provider tile, for example, storage, compute, or network. In this link, make sure to also review the various quota types for each resource provider as they differ per resource provider. Azure Stack Hub plans are groupings of one or more services and their quotas. As a provider, you can create plans to offer to your users. In turn, your users subscribe to your offers to use the plans, services, and quotas they include. The example in this link shows how to create a plan that includes the compute, network, and storage resource provider. This plan gives subscribers the ability to provision virtual machines. There are times when combining everything in a single plan is optimal. Other times, you might want to have a base plan and then offer the additional services by using add-on plans. For instance, you could decide to offer IaaS services as part of a base plan with all PaaS services treated as add-on plans. Another reason to use add-on plans is to help monitor resource usage. To do so, you could start with a base plan that includes relatively small quotas depending on the services required. Then, as users reach capacity, they would be alerted that they've consumed the allocation of resources based on their assigned plan. From there, the users can select an add-on plan that provides the additional resources. Add-on plans are created the same way as a base plan. The difference between the two is determined when the plan is added to an offer. It's designated as either a base plan or an add-on plan. When you add an add-on plan to an existing offer, the additional resources can take up to an hour to appear in the subscription. You can use PowerShell to change the billing owner for a user subscription. One reason to change the owner, for example, is to replace a user that leaves your organization. Study the syntax and values needed for this script before we continue. Note in the upper right-hand corner, there's another YouTube video for your review that covers more on this topic. Azure Stack Hub collects and groups usage data for resources that are used, then forwards this data to Azure Commerce. Azure Commerce bills you for Azure Stack Hub usage in the same way it bills you for Azure usage. You can also get usage data and export it to your own billing or chargeback system by using a billing adapter or export it to a business intelligence tool such as Microsoft Power BI. Each resource provider in Azure Stack Hub posts usage data per resource usage. The usage service periodically, hourly and daily, aggregates usage data and stores it in the usage database. Azure Stack Hub operators and users can access the stored usage data through the Azure Stack Hub resource usage APIs. If you've registered your Azure Stack Hub instance with Azure, Azure Stack Hub is configured to send the usage data to Azure Commerce. After the data is uploaded to Azure, you can access it through the billing portal or by using Azure Resource Usage APIs. To set up usage data reporting, you must first register your Azure Stack Hub instance with Azure. As part of the registration process, the Azure Bridge component of the Azure Stack Hub is configured. The Azure Bridge component is what connects Azure Stack Hub to Azure. The following usage data is sent from Azure Stack Hub to Azure: meter ID, which is the unique ID for the resource that was consumed; quantity, which is the amount of resource usage; location, which is where the current Azure Stack Hub resource is deployed; the resource URI, which is the fully qualified URI of the resource for which the usage is being reported; subscription ID, which is that of the Azure Stack Hub user, which is the local Azure Stack Hub subscription, and time. Both the start and end time of the usage data are tracked. There's some delay between the time when these resources are consumed in Azure Stack Hub and when the usage data is reported to Azure Commerce. Azure Stack Hub aggregates usage data for every 24 hours, and reporting usage data to the Commerce pipelines in Azure takes another few hours. Therefore, usage that happens shortly before midnight can appear in Azure the following day. If you registered your Azure Stack Hub using a CSP or Cloud Solution Provider subscription, you can view your usage and charges in the same way you view Azure consumption. Azure Stack Hub usage is included in an invoice and in the reconciliation file, which is available through the Partner Center. The reconciliation file is updated monthly. Azure Stack Hub usage information is accessed by the Partner Center APIs. The term provider applies to the service administrator and to any delegated providers. Azure Stack Hub operators and delegated providers can use the Provider Usage API to view the usage of their direct tenants. A tenant can use the tenant APIs to view the tenant's own resource usage data. These APIs are consistent with the Azure Usage APIs. Make sure to review these articles to see the options for using the REST API and PowerShell for both the provider and tenant APIs. CSPs often offer services to multiple end customers or tenants on their Azure Stack Hub deployment. Adding tenants to the Azure Stack Hub registration ensures that each tenant's usage is reported and billed to the corresponding CSP subscription. Before you can add an end customer to Azure Stack Hub for usage tracking and to manage their tenant, you must configure Azure Stack Hub as a CSP. You can pause the video to understand the steps in this process. This graphic shows the required steps to show a shared services account and to register the Azure account with the Azure Stack Hub account. Once registered, end customers can be onboarded. Make sure to read more in this link to understand the differences between a CSP and an APSS subscription. This article on registration operations talks about adding tenants to the registration, listing all registrations, or removing a tenant mapping. You can perform these tasks with PowerShell or REST API, so be sure to review these options and parameters. And of course, there is another YouTube video that was previously recorded to aid in the learning of this topic of managed usage and billing.